Good evening, everyone. Guys, today we are going to start the AWS. In AWS, what all things we are going to cover? Let me tell you. 1 second. We'll start with on-premises infrastructure explanation. In this on-premises infrastructure explanation, I'll tell you how it is different from your cloud infrastructure and there are total 7 types of platform will be there, right? Most common platform what we know as of now, it's there is a traditional IT, right? And there is something called infrastructure as a service, and there is something called PaaS is there, and SaaS is there. But in DevOps, there are some other platform also which we know, right? You know, like Kubernetes as a service, container as a service, right? Like this and disaster recovery as a service, right? These are the theirs. There is one more is there. I'm missing that one. But let me show you this thing. Yeah, function as a service. So these are the three which you guys already know. Here also I have mentioned, right? These are the common one which everybody knows. These three: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and SaaS as a service, right? And there is something called traditional IT service. But there is also something which I'm going to write it down. It comes under DevOps, guys. So it's Kubernetes as a service, right? Uh, Container as a service, okay, or function as a service, and DR as a service. So these are the 4 types. In this diagram also you can come to know. Okay. So these are the four types. Another you can say 4 types platform we don't consider earlier, but now we are considering as a part of service model only. So these all 7 platforms what you are seeing over here, okay, these are basically service model only. Normally there is a service model and there is a deployment model, guys, right? So the deployment model is nothing but like your public cloud or a private cloud or a hybrid cloud, like and all. But there is something called service model, and in service model, follow normal standard like IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. But now in DevOps, you can categorize these all four into DevOps, guys. Okay, according to right uh, current trend, or according to the migration activities which is happening nowadays, right? So this you can, let me name it over here. So this comes under your DevOps, okay, and these four comes under your cloud, okay. You can call it in the cloud, and the production which we go normally. Anyways, again I'll be explaining this thing is mostly your infrastructure as a service, okay. Now coming back to the point that this is something which we'll be covering, right? So in the on-premises infrastructure explanation, which you need to understand why, rather than going with the, we are migrating everything from on-prem to cloud, right? And like next topic will be your AWS account creation will be there, where you'll be go through step by step that how you can create your cloud, sorry, how you can create your account and all. And cloud computing, these are the basic things. Let me show you over here. So under cloud computing, so you will come to know these things, guys. So what is cloud, what is a region availability zone, these are basically theoretical part. It seems to be very basic, you guys have already familiar with these things, but I'll explain once again what is cloud computing and what is cloud computing facilitates, right? Why do we need cloud? What are the different models of cloud computing? Different cloud providers available in the market, right? So these are the things are there. It will come under this and cloud models. Okay, and then we'll start the main hands-on. I would say we'll start from the day 4, or the this one only, the VPC creation, the security groups, the subnet, the route table. internet gateway, NACL and all, because basic server. Okay, so this I am not going to tell you. The reason behind that, there is enough I have covered in Linux. This everything comes under Linux only. Okay, so this basic servers and all, but networking concepts, that definitely I am going to tell you, that is important, because I need to tell you there are two types of methods will be there. Right, how you are going to do the subnet and all, like there will be a class B or class C. When we are going to use, we also, there is a question also, interview question, what do you mean by CIDR, classless inter-domain routing? So that question will come under this only, okay, where you need to understand the networking concept. So I'll tell you how the subnet will be here. Slash 16 why we use, slash 24 why we use, right? So, and when we have to use for the VPC, for the zone 1, zone 2 and zone 3, how we can take it up these private IPs and all, guys, right? So these things will be going to come under this networking concept, but the server part I am going to skip here. The reason behind that, you have covered enough in the Linux, right? And this from here, everything will be hands on, guys. Okay, so there will be explanation what do you mean by VPC, and there will be immediately we can create a VPC and all. Okay, how we can create the security group, the subnets and route table and all. And most of the things from here you can see we are going to cover, and there will be a hands on. And finally there will be in between, like real time projects will be also there. And at the end of this AWS also there will be a project. So this is the course content, guys. So in this one, do you have any doubt? Because I'm not going to read the same thing again and again. Okay, so this is the course content which will be covering for next 30 days, I would say. Or it may be take more time than that. But yes, you know that I am not going to leave any single topic, so I am going to cover each and everything. So it may take time, but yes, we'll cover each and everything in the AWS. And then from here, we'll move on to the DevOps. Any doubt in this one, guys?
Sir, are these the very important services which we
See,
face in DevOps or
yes,
interview?
yes, yes. So, Anurag, normally, like there are 157 services are there in AWS, first of all. Okay. So, but these services which I have mentioned over here, if you see these topics, okay, this covers most of questions, the questions also which will be published in my channel itself. You no need to go anywhere. Okay, like Linux 100 plus interview question and answer is there. So same way, those questions will be there, right? So it will be in my channel itself. But the thing is that it's going to cover almost the majority part of your, I would say, AWS, which has been being worked by me during my tenure, right? And going forward, right, for you guys also, you will be encountering these things only, because there are, if you go through the AWS, okay, so it's more than 157, I think more than that. Okay, but I'm not going with my compute or storage or like that, but I'm just telling overall service and all. There are so many services. Okay, you cannot go ahead and all. For if you have to cover each and every service, then only for cloud, for learning AWS, really I'm telling you, it's going to take 1 year. So, but these are the services which just now I have shown you. We have covered most of the things. Okay, so guys, let's start the session. So I have given this course as a name as Learn Corporate AWS Beginner to Expert. Normally, I give a name like this only because this is my overall experience only I'm sharing with you guys, right? So this is basically a theoretical part, guys. So please pay attention. Just try to understand that what do you mean by traditional IT service, or what do you mean by on premises? You have heard this term so many times, right? What do you mean by on premises infrastructure, or I'll come to the cloud infrastructure after this. But what do you understand by on premises infrastructure?
Like all the setups in one building.
Yeah, one can go ahead. Who started first? Anurag, right? Or Santan?
It was Anurag who started
Okay.
first. Yeah.
Okay, Anurag, please go ahead.
Sir, on-premises buildings or the on-premises infrastructure is like we have all the servers, we have all the machines in one building or one place only.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, Santan.
You are having a data center actually,
Mm-hmm,
but the servers, the racks, it will be having the racks.
mm-hmm,
Anyhow, for AWS also they are having a data center and racks, but the data
mm-hmm.
center is unknown to us
Yes.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and here you can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's on-prem.
Okay, so guys, the major difference I'll tell you, but the on premises is nothing but, so suppose you take Ola, you take Flipkart, or any of the company, okay, which is a Indian based company, right? So these companies, do they have their own infrastructure, or they have their own on premises infrastructure? No, because now every organization is using cloud infrastructure, right? So earlier, or a traditional IT, if you see this diagram, so you will come to know, right? This is called a traditional IT infrastructure, which is managed by you, whether it's your application, whether it's your runtime, whether it's a security integration. Security application means what? What is the front end which you are managing? Suppose if you have an application Ola which is running, so it is managed by you only. The runtime which is managed by you only, right? And security integration means what all, I would say, the vulnerabilities and all, everything, the patches. Recently, have you guys heard of that CrowdStrike, which I was saying, right? So there, what exactly the problem was? Okay, so the problem was, since Microsoft has outsourced his project, right? Obviously, so he say that my vulnerability, my security and all, cyber security and all, or you can say the security patches and all, will be handled by CrowdStrike, who handles, right, most of the security patches and all will be handled by, right, vulnerability will be handled by the CrowdStrike. So what happened is, like, that is given to a different company, or it outsourced to a different company, right? So it is managed by a different vendor. Basically, it is not managed by the Microsoft. But if Microsoft is managing all the things, whether it's your application runtime, security integration, database, all the servers, virtualization, server hardware, storage, and networking at a single location, that is called your traditional IT, and that is called your on premises infrastructure. Understanding my point, guys? Yes or no? Right? So it's basically on premises infrastructure is the main, the major. I'm not coming to the cons immediately, but the problem with the on premises infrastructure is everything is managed by the company itself, whether it's a server, storage, networking equipment, physical location, right? If he has to get a physical location, all the equipments and all, right, it is going to operate by a single company only. So that is what it is written here also. Location on premises infrastructure refers to an IT system including server, storage, networking equipments that are physically located within a company premises, right? So everything is managed by that particular organization, or a data center. He has to build a data center, right? And the organization owns that, operate and maintain all the hardwares and the softwares. Like earlier when I was in HP, right? So you guys know that HP has their own servers and all, right? So we call it as a HP Inc. Earlier the company was HP Inc. Okay, and later on, when I left HP at that time, it got divided into HP Inc. and HPE. So Hewlett Packard is a different. They have made it a two separate entries. So the software HPE is Hewlett Packard software division, where they have completely segregated the software part from the hardware part, guys. Right. So it is now not managed by a single company. The hardware is managed by a different entity, and the software managed by a different entity. But when you manage everything at a single place, then your company is going to it's going to be split up because of the cost optimization, guys. That is the major, I would say. And on premises, the control, the company has the full, though I said, right, though you have the full control, right, of a on premises system, including ability to customize, configure, and manage the aspect of infrastructure, but all ends with your cost optimization, right? So if it's, I'll give you an example of this one. Like suppose uh, if you have to move within Bangalore, right? If you suppose how much you travel, right, depends upon your traveling. Okay, if I tell that I go to a PVR and the Inox hardly monthly, twice or once, right? So in that case, so where you are, whether you are going to purchase a new car, okay, or by looking at the traffic, see there is a traffic congestion is there, obviously, right? And most of the time you are sitting in your home and working from home, right? But in that case, when you see so much of traffic, only twice or once a month you are going to that PVR and Inox, right? So you are not going to buy a car. Instead of that, you are going to take a service, right? What is that service? Ola, right? And that is pay and use service. That is what here nowadays is happening. So how much is your requirement? Okay, according to that only you pay and use that service, guys, right? So in cloud also it's mostly a pay and use service, and that is what this three other model is called. That is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and SaaS as a service. And these all three things comes under your cloud. Understanding my point? Yes or no? Right? So here also you have the options that whether you are going to manage your application or your runtime, your security, your database and a server, or you only want to manage your application, right? Like see in this case, right? Or you want to outsource each and everything. You don't want to manage anything. You just only want to raise a ticket and assign it to like suppose in AWS, normally most of the organization are product based company, right? What they do is like they just hosted their application and they just leave it to the AWS support team. They completely rely on a support team, okay, where they have to raise a ticket with the AWS team or the Azure team or or you can say the GCP team, right? That is also a model. But in production environment, normally most of the company is going with this infrastructure as a service. In production environment I am talking about, guys. Okay, any doubt till here, guys? Understanding why we have, and security, which I already said here. Like what is happened, you only tell me. If see when you have seen CrowdStrike, there is a heavy outage, right? At that time none of the flights are everything is on a manual mode, right? Because the system is completely blocked, right? If you see there is a blue screen, right? We were getting blue screen at, I think, hardly 1 month back only we have got that problem, right? But if I'll tell, there are two things over here. If Microsoft has already, they have already their own data center previously, yes or no, guys? Correct? Yes or no, Anurag? Correct? But
Yes,
they
sir.
have outsourced their security part to whom? To CrowdStrike. Correct? So the patching and the vulnerabilities or the any right activity or the patches which needs to push through those servers will be taken care by a CrowdStrike, right? So in that case, see, this on premises is good, correct? But again, the problem is they have to manage the cost of this security also. See, it's all comes and ends with the cost optimization only, guys. And there is also something called high availability, HA. Okay. So high availability also we say. So on premises, you have understand what exactly you mean by on premises, and that is what here. Now I am going to tell you here. See, in cost, okay, if you talk about, there are two things. The cost is associated with the on premises infrastructure include the initial capital expenditure. for purchasing the hardware, software license, ongoing operational expenditure, right? For maintenance, upgrade, power, cooling, and staffing, right? Now understand from here. See, if you divide a normal infrastructure, if you have to understand a traditional IT, then understand from here, it is your infrastructure. If you go with a traditional infrastructure where you are going to manage your application, your runtime, your security integration, your database, your virtual servers, your server hardware storage and networking, basically a physical data center, right? So that includes a heavy cost in this one for each and everything, right? Whether suppose you have to procure your networking switches and all, you have to procure the storage devices and all, you have to procure the physical servers and all, right? So it's not only time consuming, it is also, I would say, a very cost, right? It is a heavy cost is involved in that one, right? So and in any failure also, in case of any storage failure, again you have to procure the storage and you have to wait for that one, yes or no, right? Just try to understand, if your income, if I am telling you that for your company your profit is 10 rupees and you are losing almost 20 rupees for procuring this hardware, so whether you are going with this traditional IT service, yes or no? Will you go with this traditional IT service? Tell me, guys. No, right?
No, sir.
Why? Because the capital expenditure of a traditional or a on premises infrastructure is very high. So it is not cost effective, and also it is not high availability. Why? Just now I have given you the reason. Because any of the hardware failure, any of the I would say storage failure and all, or the networking failure and all, you have to wait for the vendor so that they will procure that particular. It's not at all about the software. It's all about the hardware. But these peoples are already expertise into this one. It's just try to understand, it's like your internet service provider or your telecom service provider, or you can tell it as a internet service provider only, right? But I'm not going into that one. Just try to understand from here, right? Where you have to dependent upon your vendors also to procure those servers. So for by the time those servers will be coming, so your application is down, right? Because you have not procured before, or you have to procure, you are not a. So it all depends upon your how much is the cost involved in that one, and whether we are getting a high availability or not. So these are the two factor or the major factor where we need to avoid the traditional IT service or on premises infrastructure. And this is that reason, guys, we are moving from here to here. From a capital expenditure is more on a physical data center, right? And if you talk about the cloud, so everything is managed by this cloud service provider, whether it's a AWS cloud or Azure cloud or a GCP cloud, guys. And that is what it is written over here. See, so location and everything is fine. Control via, see, here you need to understand the security and everything. And then finally, from the C, cloud infrastructure generally operates on a pay and you go. That is what I am telling you from the starting of the session only. When you pay and go, means just pay and go. Simply like Ola is what? You just pay and go wherever you want to go. Once your trip ends, service ends. That's it. So it's like companies only pay for the resources they use, and which can lead to a cost saving, especially for the businesses which is fluctuating the workload. Suppose you only tell me, okay, in if I'll tell you, like suppose you have a cloud infrastructure at, you have hosted an application, guys. Okay, here only, just take this example. Okay, in this one, I'll take this one, right? And I have a service. Okay, I'm just talking about Fresher Tube, my freshertube.com, right? So obviously, if I have to host a Fresher Tube, I need a VM. Yes or no, guys? I need a VM,
हाँ सर
virtual machine, and that virtual machine, they are charging me almost $10 hourly basis. For example, I am telling you, almost $10 per hour, right? $10 per hour. But when I see that this is a normal day, okay, I'm talking about the normal day. But when I see a grow of traffic, huge traffic will be there. So because we have high availability in place, yes or no, guys, right? High availability, basically it's a right. So we have high availability in place, and we have other services also, which you have heard of, auto scaling, right? So if huge traffic will be there, so we can replicate this one, right? Correct. So the number of VMs will be more, right? The number of VMs will be more, yes or no, guys? So normal traffic, the minimum, when the traffic will be minimum, which is like, suppose in a normal, I'm just talking about like Monday to Friday, okay? Monday to Friday, I need only one VM. But when I see Saturday and Sunday, the traffic will be huge. I need 4 to 5 VM. So I need to auto scale. Yes or no, guys? So in that case, just understand this one. So only for Saturday, Sunday, if my cost will be more also, absolutely fine. But when again it's come back to a point where I need to use Monday to Friday, I need to use only one VM. So they are going to charge only for the one VM. But when the traffic will be more, automatically the VMs will be increased. Yes or no? Guys, you are understanding my point. There is a minimum, there is a maximum. I'll tell you what exactly how auto scaling works and all, how we need to set it up, the threshold and all. But it's all about the pay and use, right? So where I am going to achieve that thing, I'll be achieving that thing when a different cloud service provider will be there, and those things I am only going to get with the operational. So I have to only bear the cost of operations. I no need to worry about the capital expenditure. Guys, you are understanding my point. I no need to worry about, oh no, okay, so these many VMs, so again I need to pay for complete all the, no. Why you are worrying? Why you are worrying about the hardware? Why you are worrying about the storage? Why you are worrying about the networking and all? You have to only worry about the operational part. That's it. Correct? Yes or no, guys?
yes sir
Any doubt here till now? And see, this is why I mentioned everything I have. See, this is just a definition, guys. What I have explained you, so it is scalable, right? Easily you can auto scale, right? So I told everything into a single with this example only, right? Correct. With this example only, I told you what do you mean by scalability, right? Auto scaling, right? It is auto scalable, right? Correct. That is what I told you. It is what called as this feature, and the cost effective is there because you have to only bear the operation expenditure. You have to only, cloud infrastructure is highly scalable. Organization can quickly scale up or down based on demand, often with a few clicks without needing to purchase or install new hardwares. This is what the main reason, guys. See, now you tell me, again one layman example I'm going to give you for this one. So I said, right, when you have to go for within the city only, if you have to travel, right? You said Ola as a service. For example, I am just telling you how this auto scaling you can understand in your real life. Okay, so suppose you are going for any movie on or anything, right? So only if you have to watch, then you are going to get a mini, right? Or you are going to get any other service like same, like, right? Correct. A mini. But when you see you have a family, then you are going to book a sedan, right? Correct. And if you see you have so many people, then you are going to book a SUV, right? So it's a pay and go. It works on demand. So, and again, some of the people from there, from the PVR, your relatives and all, they left and they went to their home from there. So now you no need to pay for them. Now again you have to book a cab only for your family, that is sedan. So you came from SUV to, so scale up, scale down. Understanding my point, guys? Yes or no? How scalability works in cloud. So you have to only bear the operational expenditure in your cloud, or whichever the cloud you are going to opt for, whether it's the AWS cloud or a GCP cloud, right? Or a Azure cloud, guys. But a traditional IT service where each and every hardware, storage, networking, application, database, or any failure you have heard of earlier, because I have worked with rack servers and all, right? If you see, I'll show you one diagram. One second. If you see this one, you see this one. Okay. So you see this one. Are you able to see this diagram, guys?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to see this diagram? Right? So this is a, so will you going to manage this much of infrastructure for a normal application which you have to host? Suppose you have built a product. I understand. Okay. You have built a product. So will you going to build a infrastructure like this? Or you are just want to do a pay and go? Which is better? You only tell me. A data center, I'm not sure how many of you have visited or not. Guys, it's a really huge setup is required. Cooling service is required. There are so many devices are required, switches are required, server rack servers are required. There is so much of wiring is required. So much of overhead cost is involved into that one. And when I said no, only if I have to host a application which is hardly going to consume 1 GB or a 2 GB or 10 GB maximum, and the data, so it's pay and go, right? If I'm a small industry, sorry, if I'm a startup, right? So I'm going to build a data center like this where I have to invest heavily in the capital expenditure, or you can say in the data center. No, right? So in that case, so earlier the problem was that when Infosys started, when TCS started. So see, if, and one more thing, sorry, my bad, guys. Okay, so in Infosys or TCS you are talking about, these are the service based, right, company. So they give service to their clients, correct? They give service to their clients, right? And their clients are product based companies. So those companies build their own infrastructure, their data center, and they are outsourcing to manage that data center by a different company, and that company grows. You can understand how much. Accenture, you can take a best example of this much, how much they have grown because of this only. Okay, where these the companies which have heavily invested in the data center and they are not able to manage, so they outsource, right, their work to a company which is we calling it as a service based companies like Accenture, Infosys, TCS, HCL, and these companies are earning earnings in billions to manage their data center, right? But now you need to understand why the projects are less, because those product based companies directly reaching out to those cloud service provider, whether it's AWS cloud, Azure cloud, or a GCP cloud, right? And those product based companies, and even now these service based companies also is looking for what? They are looking for the roles of a SRE engineer, or a cloud engineer, or I would say platform engineer, right? Or a DevOps engineer, or application support engineer. Why they are segregating all these things? You only tell me. Why they are segregating all these things? Because of this deployment model, guys. So that they can now outsource their resource to those companies. Understanding the complete terminology, guys, the chronology, how things are working, revolving around. So these models, what you have seen here, whether it's a infrastructure as a service or a PaaS as a service or a software as a service, is managed by your cloud only. Is managed by this cloud only. Whether it's a AWS cloud, whether Azure cloud or a GCP cloud or a Alibaba, anyone. Right. One more thing, guys, I just wanted to tell you these things. See, you have understand infrastructure, right? Capital expenditure and operational expenditure, right? But there is also, which is a very important, which comes with cloud. Okay, who is going to tell me what is this I have just now done? Where you have seen, you are hitting a URL. Okay, for example, you are hitting freshertube.com only, okay, or you are hitting abhishekroshan.com. So you are hitting a abhishekroshan.com, the URL and all, okay. So it's coming to the front end, okay, it's hitting that one. Then you are able to uh, fetch the application, or you are able to navigate within the application, and whatever the data you need it, you are going to get it from where? From the database, right? But if I am telling, suppose this application layer is down. Okay. So in that case, the entire system is down. Yes or no? The entire system is down. Yes or
Yes, sir.
no? So that is also a biggest
Yes, sir.
challenge. Yeah, that is also a biggest challenge we have seen in this physical data center. So even the last time, why, this is that reason, and the most of the companies are migrating to where? To the cloud, and this is what called monolithic architecture. This is what called monolithic architecture, guys. Now you understand what do you mean by monolithic, and why companies are. I'm telling you, the last project which I have handled, 14 application, guys. Will you imagine? It's a biggest client of USA, healthcare. Okay, 14 application. None of the application they have their disaster recovery. They don't have their HA. That means they don't have redundancy, high availability. The application are managed on a single server, the web layer, the application layer, the database layer, everything on a single server. Now you only tell me how it is, if any outage will be there, how the clients will be or the customer will be managed. You only tell me. It's a huge loss, right? 14 application. I'm just imagining how still you have seen, and this is that reason. Now 95% of the work is a migration work. Now this is that reason. This is I wanted to tell you in depth. So because the applications which are there in your traditional IT infrastructure or on premises infrastructure is a monolithic architecture. But when you talk about the cloud data center, right, where the operational expenditure is managed by, where everything is managed by the cloud as per the deployment model. Okay, so you take this one. Sorry, whether your web layer, your application layer, and your database layer, everything, if suppose this layer has to communicate with the application layer, or the application layer has to communicate with the database layer. But the major thing in this one, this is a three-tier architecture, guys, where for each server there is a high availability. What is that high availability? That is what called your zones. Zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and that is what called availability zone. So for each layer, you have high availability. So if any of the layer goes down, doesn't matter. Your application is up and running. And this is, we call it as a three-tier architecture. Three-tier architecture. And you are going to get high availability for all the layers, and that is what called your availability zone. Easy. Now tell me whether your doubts are clear or anything still you have any doubt.
Sir, high availability zone doubt is clear, sir.
Huh?
High availability or availability zone doubt is clear, sir.
Now you'll not forget, right? High
Yes, sir.
availability, or you can say earlier we said what is HA, what is HA, what is HA, right? We keep on calling. Somebody is asking in the interview, you know what do you mean by HA? Now you can tell this example. Will you able to answer, all of you guys? Tell me. Simple, right? Things are simple, guys.
Yes, sir.
Correct. It's very simple. योगेश, अंडरस्टैंडिंग समझ में आ रहा है आपको?
Yes, sir.
Now, please don't. If somebody is going to ask you what do you mean by high availability, you guys should answer properly. Okay. Now you can tell what do you mean by it's nothing but your availability zone only. Okay. And you can give them the examples where each and every layer has its high availability. That is called 1A, 1B, 1C for a single, right, in the data center. Correct. And these zones comes under, and these zones comes under a physical location, right? These all zones comes under a physical location, correct? This is called your region.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So that's it, guys. You no need to read or remember anything. You have to understand with the examples. So things will be easier for you. Okay. Uh, okay. So any doubt in this one? I think it's very clear for you guys, right? So, and this is that reason here I am going to tell you. Now you guys have understand why companies are doing migration, right? In migration also so many, whether you are going with refactoring, whether you are going to rehosting and all, there are so many things, terminologies are involved, guys. And these are why I am able to tell you, because if you work at a architect level now, so you will be able to visualize things, you will be able to analyze things, but that comes with experience, guys, only. Means you need to in see why I am able to tell you all these things, because when I said all 14 application we have migrated to cloud, to the GCP cloud, right? So there we have to refactor each and everything. There we have to not rehosting we were doing, we have to refactoring, means we have to see each and every integrations, how the web layer are integrated, how the application layer are integrated, how the database layer are integrated in the in the properties file of a coding where a application, right? How a SSA will be integrated, authentication will be happening, right? Those things, right, guys? So and see, this is that reason I have not read this. This is exactly the same only. What the conclusion is: ownership and the control. Like on premises provides full control and ownership. It all about the ownership, while cloud infrastructure is managed by the third party provider, right? Pay and go, that is what cost structure. On premises involves higher initial expenditure. As I said, you have to heavily invest. Okay, if you are a startup, then you are before starting only you will be closed. Okay, so while the cloud is typically based on a subscription model, right? Like your Netflix and all, we do a subscription, right? So same way here, a cloud model is like that only. So if you don't need to watch Netflix, if you want to go for Amazon Prime, you can go ahead and for Amazon Prime, pay and go, right? So it's scalable, means cloud infrastructure offers, that is what I say. You can scale up your VMs, you can scale down your VM as per the demand. When you see a huge traffic, the automatically the services are there which is going to scale up your VMs, and when they see that there is no requirement of those VMs, so it's going to delete those VMs, right? So cloud infrastructure offers more flexibility, quicker scalability than on-premises solution. Maintenance is one of the main thing that where you no need to worry about the maintenance. The on-premises requires in-house maintenance where you have. It's not only about the as I said the storage or when the starting of the session, guys, storage or the networking or the servers. It's also about the resource, right? You have to invest heavily in the resources, right? Candidates, the resources for each profile. You have to for the storage there will be team, there will be networking, there will be team, there will be Linux, that is what we SRE engineer, there will be platform engineer, so everything will be managed by the same company only, correct? That's it, guys, in this one. So tomorrow we are going to see that how we can create a account in AWS. And as I said before, also guys, you should be ready with your AWS. So account creation, please make sure your account will be created. Okay. Cloud computing, I'll tell you, that is nothing but that is a deployment model only, like infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and SaaS as a service, and cloud models and all. What is a public cloud, private cloud, and all. So these are the basically definitions only. So yeah, and then we'll move ahead from there to the hands-on part from here, guys. Okay. Here also you need to understand some of the basic concepts of networking, and then we'll see how we can create the VPC and all. Okay, fine. Any doubt?
Okay, okay.
So, guys, I'm ending up the session here only. Thank you for staying connected with me. Let's connect again tomorrow for the next session. Till then, just take care of yourself, your loved one. Bye bye and Jai Hind.